In this video, I'm going to try to show you how to do the long and short stitch. I'm by no means an expert on this, but we're doing the long and short stitch for a lot of the rabbit in the front of our Home Sweet Home box. There are other videos that I will put a link to that probably show this better than I do, but we'll give it a shot. So this is a piece I messed up on, so I'm now using it to test things. My rabbit, as you saw, was much smaller, but I'm going to stitch kind of what's the shape of his face, much bigger, so hopefully you can see. I started by doing a split stitch to outline my shape. I am stitching right now with a size 12 pearl cotton. However, to get the long and short stitch to look really nice and to blend well, you want a finer thread. A lot of times it's one strand of floss. It could be silk. A lot of times this is done in silk. The rabbit was done with a wool thread. So I've done my split stitch, and now I'm going to bring up my needle inside the shape, and I'm going to make these longer than I did on the rabbit because he was so much smaller. I'm going to bring it up inside the shape, and when I'm working on a shape like this, say it was a petal or his face, I want to come up in the middle, and I'm going to work from the middle to one side, and then I'm going to come back and work from the middle out to the other side. So I'm going to come up, well, actually I'm going to do a little running stitch so that I don't have a knot on the back to where I want to come up, and that's bigger than I would probably do. And you can leave a tail hanging, or I have a knot. It's a waist knot, so I could trim it off later. So I come up here in the middle, and I am going to take a stitch over the edge and kind of tuck under my split stitch straight out. So now I want my stitches to be long and short. My long ones on the rabbit are still pretty short, but my short stitches are about either 2/3 to 3/4 the length of my long stitches. So I'm going to come up right next to it, not on top of it, kind of like a satin stitch, but I'm going to come down and make this stitch shorter. Again, I'm going to bring it out and over the edge of my split stitch. And going over the edge helps me to keep that side smooth. I'm going to come back up in the middle, and this time it'll be a long stitch, and I'm not trying to make my long stitches all the same length or my short stitches all the same length. Then I go off the edge. I just want them staggered so that there's not a straight line. And now I'm going to do a short stitch. And over the edge. Oops. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get to the edge where I want to finish off this first row. So I am working it in rows. Let's make the next one a little longer. Off the edge. And I want to follow my contour, so if you wanted to, you could put some lines in to help you follow, but I'm going to start fanning this out a little bit here. I wouldn't have much to fan out if I was working on that smaller one. This is a much bigger shape. You'd only have probably 6 or 7 stitches across on the rabbit at the front, and you'd have him filled in. I stitched the other side off camera. These stitches out here are just my running stitches to bring threads in. They're going to be covered up. So I'm ready to start my second row. And again, I'm going to come up in the center. This time I'm going to split the previous stitch, whichever one I'm coming up in, about 1/3 of the way down. So I'm splitting the thread, and then I'm taking my stitch out. At this point, your stitches could just all be the same. I did not try length. I didn't try to do that, but you've got them staggered to start with, so they would continue to be staggered. Then you're going to just move over and split the next stitch part way through. So you're splitting the thread. and take your stitch down. And then just over, splitting the next thread. I don't want them to be even here either, not till I get to my other edge where I would be trying to finish it off. So you don't want this all to come up to the same level. I'm just going to keep moving over, splitting my threads and taking a stitch out from it. So when you are working on an animal like our rabbit, you would be thinking about how their fur would actually go, so you can change your directions based on that. So if you want to be really picky about it, you could pull up pictures online and just look at the nap of the fur. And I'm just going to keep going, filling in this way. And now on the actual size rabbit, it probably won't take you more than, I don't know, 4 or 5 rows to completely fill his head in. With this size, it would take me longer. But I keep working from the center because you just get a smoother look with your directions than if you were trying to work from edge to edge. Now, the whole rabbit, no, I didn't do that. On his back, I worked just rows going down it. You will want to read your directions because not all of it is long and short stitch. Some of it is split stitch, some of it's satin stitch, and I would stitch in the order that the book tells you because that way you have stuff behind and stuff in front. So anyway, I just keep splitting the stitches and moving toward the edge. Anytime I get out to where there's a split stitch edge, I want to cover that. So let's say I'm here now. I don't know that I really am, but and down. So I would just keep doing that. I would do this side then, and then I come up again in the center and work out, just building rows so that I get a nice smooth finish. Now I didn't show you, I have that waist knot here. I can just grab hold of it and cut it off because I don't want the bulk under my split stitches. So again, I will post links to some other places that have much longer videos on my long and short stitches, on the long and short stitches, they're not mine. And it really isn't that bad, especially when you're doing just that little tiny rabbit.